Hello, my name is Frank McLean from Belfast City Council Building Control Property Section. Part of our responsibility in the property section is to deal with dangerous structures. At the moment I'm at Broadway Grosvenor Road Junction. It's an outbuilding belonging to the Royal Victoria Hospital complex, which was set on fire late last night. We've negotiated with the police and the fire authority to have the road closed. This is a very, very busy thoroughfare for obviously locals and hospital visitors, etc. We'll be negotiating throughout the day with the contractor as to the extent of demolition in order to liaise to have the road opened again. It will be our shout mostly as to when that should happen. At the moment, because of the nature of the building and the fire damage, it's a very, very steady operation. As you can see from a cherry picker, hand demolition is going on here because of the unknown condition of the building, and it's better to be steady as they go on that, and that's what they're doing. A quite experienced contractor, Ross Bottom, so we'll be checking with them throughout the day as to how they're getting on. Well, here we are 24 hours later. As you can see, the demolition is well nearing completion. What they're doing now, the excavator driver is separating the recyclable metals and steels from the rubble for takeaway for recycling. But as usual in this type of thing, you solve one problem, you almost create another one. We've got the remainder of another vacant building that was behind the one that has been demolished, and we'll have to monitor this because it is an ideal playground both for kids and for people who have an interest in recycling materials unofficially, so we'll have to watch that. And it could be of greater risk to passers-by. We might have to put a notice or a request to the owners of the property to have the remaining openings secured. And as you can clearly see, the slates have been taken off this roof, and we still see a potential hazard here, so we'll be keeping a very close look on it in order that the thing is properly sealed and closed and safe to the public. The roads have been successfully reopened again, and all in all, the demolition contractor under difficult circumstances has done a very, very good job. Hello, it's Frank McLean, Belfast Building Control Property Section. It comes under our remit to deal with dangerous structures, and we've got a typical example of what's happening at the moment in North Belfast, where so-called brick bandits come along to derelict in vacant houses and they physically demolish them, clear the bricks and sort of put them to various outlets for recycling. This particular street, Hogarth Street, which is in North Belfast, just off North Queen Street, there's a mix and match of ownership here. There's a housing association, housing executive and some private owners. What we do is we ensure that persons responsible for the ownership of the property will do demolition and site clearance in order to make the place safe, because these places do tend to attract children, particularly this time of year with school holidays, etc. So it's our responsibility to ensure that they're made safe by demolition or other means. And this type of property, the hidden scare here is, and you probably wouldn't realise, is mostly electric would tend to be on here, and the bare wires are exposed, which puts the children at risk as well. This particular street will be down for redevelopment through the housing executive, but at the moment, because of budgets etc. Their programmes can be quite long and before they're processed. We would get our reports would come from local councillors and residents, so it's always important that we follow up and meet the people and keep them informed as to what's happening. And then as part of our process would, even though we have agreement with owners to do the works, we would issue a dangerous structure notice, either take down, secure, repair, and put the responsibility on the owners in writing to comply with our legislation. And to be fair, they will work with us very closely. If this was a case where we didn't know the owners and say, because they're dangerous and derelict, our responsibility would be to demolish ourselves under legislation and then pursue the owners for payment, etc. The housing executive would deal with these housing matters. If there's an occupied house adjoining a derelict one, they have responsibility to protect housing stock. But where the house has become so dangerous structurally, it falls under our legislation. Hello, it's Frank McLean again. We're back in Hogarth Street a few days from our last visit, where the houses were in a ruinous condition. As you can see, the contractor is now in the street here demolishing on behalf of the housing executive. The demolished one here, they're going to come back and sort of clear and select recyclable materials, and our friends the bandits are still palleting bricks, needing to head to the back out of the view. This house is going to be left, but the guy in it has been offered another house nearby, and they're moving up the street. There's a bit of a hold on because they've discovered that the electric and gas is onto some of the houses, so they obviously have to be careful that that's cut off before they start working. There's also a scare in these type of houses that there's asbestos materials within the construction, and they'd often wait on asbestos clearance to ensure that the materials are disposed of properly. And the Ross Bottoms are licensed asbestos disposal people. That's a science in its own nowadays. It wasn't a science when they're putting it in, of course, as I always say, but it is now a science to remove it, because the guys putting it in just worked away unprotected. We do often hear of the side effects of all that, but that is the building industry for you. We're more wiser, etc. now. The people in the street seem quite happy that they've been offered houses. Some of them are negotiating about size, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, etc. So a little explain at the minute. I think the future is good here. The heart has been taken out of the street, I always feel, but I think it'll be put back when they get their new houses, and most of the people we've got to know here are happy with what they've been offered from the housing executive. We're now in the lower end of Hogarth Street. Last week this house was perfectly intact. I like the fact it was allocated to a young lady who she came up to put the keys in the door. The door was no longer there. The bandits had come, and as you can see, have left the house. Miraculously how it stays up. I have no idea what keeps these up, but we are very, very concerned in the state of it, and the contractor is going to demolish, because I've just seen one good gust of wind for the lift the roof and the rest to collapse into the street. Housing executive own this. They are going to have the contractor demolished. But the point I'm making, it's amazing what will stand without external walls.